out of my car.
Hello again, the Abandoned South here. Want to show you a place that I recently found out about. And I've been wanting to go out here for a long time, or well, at least the last year. A lot of people don't know, but the infamous outlaw Jesse James, who was shot and killed by Robert Ford in 1882, he actually had a farm in Humphreys County, Tennessee, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm driving out there. I'm going to show you as much as I can. The location itself, I think it is private property, so I wasn't able to walk out into it, but I figured this would be a good video to show you just a little drive going out to the place. So just some backstory on this. So Jesse James actually moved to Humphreys County, Tennessee with his family in 1877. And he went by the assumed name J.D. Howard. So everyone in Humphreys County in 1877 knew Jesse James as J.D. Howard. They didn't know it was the outlaw Jesse James. Now, I don't know if he was trying to get away from the outlaw life, if he was trying to keep his family safe. I feel like that was a lot to do with it. He may have been just laying low for a while, trying not to get into trouble. Because at this point, from what I've read, the Pinkertons were coming after him pretty hard. They were putting out rewards for him, and it kind of makes me think of the RICO Act with the mob back in the, what was it, the 80s. I don't have my history 100% correct on that. Essentially, they would put out a reward to capture these outlaws that was far greater than what the actual money that they were getting from bank robberies and things like that. It's kind of a clever idea. So imagine you're in a gang like the James gang and you're robbing trains and things like that, which a lot of the James gang, they were either killed or captured, or besides Jesse and his brother Frank, most of them did not make it out. So imagine you're in a gang like that, and I mean, the most that I read that they ever got from a robbery was probably like $40,000, which is a ton of money back then. That's another thing too, because the way Jesse James lived with him and his brother Frank and the gang and everything, the money that they pull from those robberies, you gotta wonder where it went. I mean, it's not like he was buying fancy mansions or anything like that. I don't know, maybe I should read more into it, but it just makes me wonder. They always talked about him as being like a Robin Hood kind of character, rob from the rich, give to the poor, and I don't necessarily believe that, especially when it comes to crimes like that. Innocent people were shot and killed. I don't think intentionally, per se. Maybe one or two, but I mean, this is not to say that he was a great person or anything, but you gotta wonder where all that money went. But I'm getting sidetracked here. So in 1877, Jesse James moved out to Humphreys County, Tennessee. If you try to read about this online, it's not talked about a lot. They always talk about him moving from Missouri and then to Nashville after that. Now, he did move to Nashville in 1880 from what I've read. But 1877 all the way up until 1880, he was still living in Humphreys County, Tennessee. So he moved out to Humphreys County with his family, with his wife Z. I think her actual name was Zarella. And she was actually his first cousin. A lot of people don't know that. But that was pretty common back in the day. Cousins would marry, have families. And he rented a farm. He actually rented a farm from a man known by N.B. Link. So a lot of times this is referred to as the Link Farm. And he kind of stayed out here undercover from 1877 at least until 1880. And from what I've read, he didn't particularly like the area. I mean, not the land per se, but a lot of people, to his own account, did not treat him fairly. And I think a lot of them were starting to suspect that he actually was Jesse James. There's a story that I read about where some people were around the farm and a hog had gotten into his crops. And they say that he pulled a gun faster than anyone had ever seen and shot the hog in the head right on the spot because he was so mad at it. And that's when a lot of people started to suspect that maybe this guy is a little bit more than what he's putting on as. He actually had two twin boys at this area. Their names were Gold and Montgomery, which, me being from kind of close to the same place, those are very, very Tennessee-esque names. But he had two twin boys in this area. They didn't live very long. They died shortly after birth, and he buried them on the property. So me, myself, trying to find some cool places to visit for the channel and everything. I had heard about this at a young age from my dad, actually. He used to talk about it, that Jesse James actually lived in Humphreys County at one time, but I never knew the exact place. And it kind of came to mind recently. I actually got really attached to the movie The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. I love that movie. And I've watched it probably this year alone 3 different times. And I kind of get different interpretations of it each time I watch it. But it got me interested in the topic, and I remembered what my dad told me about him living in the area, so I decided to look it up and see what it was all about. And I found out it was definitely a place that I could visit and I could film. But I will warn, looking at the images on Google Maps, the street view, there were some trespassing signs around, no trespassing. My dad even contacted me and said, "You better be careful going out there. It looks like someone owns that property." And so I figured if I can't walk around the property, I will at least tell the history of it to an extent and just give you a little first-person view of driving to the place. So that's where we're at now. So I looked the place up on Google Maps. Drove out that way. Just kind of enjoy the drive here and the scenery. This is the South. This is what we grew up with. All of us, us from the South. This land, just the beautiful countryside, you know. For all the negativity the South gets, poverty, whatever, Civil War stuff, it is some beautiful land, and this is one of the last places I feel like in America that you can really live free, at least to a certain extent, without the government breathing down your back. Which, in that sense, I kind of relate to Jesse James. I would say I hate to say it, but I don't. He was an outlaw, and the law is not always fair. And if you read into the history of James, was he evil? I don't know. He did some bad things. But in that sense, I mean, we're all evil at some point before we realize the way to live and whatnot. But you know, I really relate to some of the stuff, and just watching that film. I don't know how accurate the film is to how he actually was. Brad Pitt's portrayal of him was awesome. Robert Ford, Casey Affleck's portrayal of Robert Ford was just, I don't know. I don't know if it was dead on, but it was some damn good acting, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, just enjoy the drive here. We're going to take a turn up here. It's kind of crazy how close it was to where I had parked at. I thought I was going to have to be driving out into the country for a good while, but turned down this road just a few feet, and there it is. I know at this point there was some pickup truck behind me, and this dude was like tailgating me. I guess he lives in the area. He didn't want to go to the speed limit, which I will, because I'm not about to get myself in trouble just for going out to visit a place for my channel. But you know, you can't expect everyone else to understand what you're doing. Everyone's got their own path in life. But yeah, here we are, coming around this corner up here, actually, this curve. And there's the marker, and I almost missed it. It's almost like I couldn't believe that I had come up on it, but turned into the place here, and there it is. And of course, there's no house here, there's no farmhouse, and you can't see it from the video here, but to the left of where I'm at right now, I saw a big no trespassing sign, and on top of that, there were barbed wire fences all around the place. I wasn't about to get someone coming after me, so I decided to just park the car and film from the window here. So here is the actual plaque. Shout out to this website I got these images from, hmdb.org, the Historical Marker Database. This photo was taken by Ken Smith in 2011, but I guess this guy got permission to go out here and took the images and everything. And here's that little white sign that's a little further up into the property, just a more close-up of that. These are the graves. That's what it's marked as. This is where he buried his two sons, Montgomery and Gold. They didn't live very long, died shortly after birth. You can take a path down here, and here's an image of the actual grave. I don't know if Jesse James himself had someone engrave this into the stone. I don't feel like he would have done this himself. He wasn't one to be known to do things like this necessarily. Likely hired somebody to do it. 1878 is when they were born and died. He buried them here. But I have read around 1995, I believe, these graves were exhumed and the bodies were taken out to the actual place where Jesse James is buried in Missouri, so they can once again be with their father, with their family. Yeah, I do notice here Jesse is spelled incorrectly. It's spelled like the female version, but his name is normally spelled Jesse. So that's another reason it kind of makes me think that he hired somebody to do this here. Or maybe it was done after by the citizens of the town, after they figured out that this guy, J.D. Howard, that they were coming in contact with was actually Jesse James, the infamous outlaw. But I was a little nervous to drive up in there. I didn't want to get out of the car. There's actually a house behind this place. I wondered, do they own the property? Are they going to come out? I mean, you got to be careful in some places like this. You might get shot at. This is still the South, by the way. It's not like we shoot at people all the time, but private property is highly respected, and you don't want to be screwing around. But here's a side view. Here's where the graves would have been located. And then from there, I was off. Just a side note, my family is actually from this area originally, and I wondered if they knew Jesse James at one time. My family moved here in 1880 from the history I was able to pull, so I feel as though they didn't, but Humphreys County is where a lot of my family set up their own land and made their living, and then from there we expanded out into different directions. But getting back to Jesse, from what I've read, he was not very successful at farming. The money that he had put into renting this property, according to, I think it was Frank James had told people later on, that it was not successful. He pretty much lost every penny he put into it. Jesse himself even stated at one point, this is not a direct quote, but the people there did not treat him fairly, and he didn't like the way the people treated him. In 1879, and I had heard 1880, but some of this stuff, I mean, even the information about him having this farm, it's up for debate. It could have actually been some dude named J.D. Howard, for all we know. I don't think that's so. I think it was Jesse James. Frank James had moved to the area shortly after, or during the time Jesse was staying there, I think like a year after he got there. And Jesse actually entered his horse into local races. He won several competitions. Like the plaque says, his horse was named Red Fox. I found that interesting. But I think he just got fed up with it, and either 1879 or 1880, he left and moved into Nashville and tried it there. And like I said, I don't know if he was trying to start a new life under an assumed name, or if this was just a quick little getaway to get the Pinkertons and the law office back for a while, maybe disappear for a couple of years. Certainly didn't work out in the long run. They were still after him for sure. And he carried out more robberies after this. So if he was trying to escape and start a new life, that's how that went. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. Just a nice little piece of history that a lot of people don't know about. So I wanted to show this to the world, or whoever would view my video. I wanted to document this, and I won't say I'm a fan of Jesse James, but I'm highly interested in the history. I loved finding out about it. I love the 1800s. It's a huge interest of mine. I love the stories of the outlaws and the cowboys. I like Western movies. A lot of people do, and I think there's a reason for that. There's a kind of resiliency that probably still exists, but it's just not as common amongst people. And the people in the 1800s, especially if you survived the Civil War, there's something to that about perseverance and a time when things were not so convenient for us, and we actually had to have a little spine to get by in life. And I think that made you stronger, made you respect life more, even if you were an outlaw, dare I say. But this has been the Abandoned South. I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care.